Okay, it says we're live and we've got 10 seconds to spare, so we're still on time. Oh, we forgot to turn the lights on here. Hold on. Let there be light. Let there be light and there. Oh, talk? You want me to talk? Just talk. All right. Can you? Marty said, just talk, just talk. Hi, everyone. It's Tuesday, 4 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Central, which is our time zone now here in Costa Rica, 7 o'clock Eastern, midnight in Dublin, 1 a.m. in Milan, 8:30 a.m. Wednesday morning in Australia, and I think it's like 3 in the afternoon in New Zealand on Wednesday, and it's Facebook Live. So let me adjust our screen here so you can see my head. Good, we're good to go. And welcome. Thank you so much for being here. It's another Facebook Live, and you've got me and your questions. So let's start with the first question. And it says, I heard you say on the Dr. Marisol interview about coconut oil being a carrier oil for bad bacteria to the brain. Will you tell us what to use for brain health instead of coconut oil? I'm guessing it's not a good idea to eat a spoonful of coconut oil every day anymore. Please elaborate. Thanks so much, Norm. Thanks, Norm. There have just been a couple of studies that shown that coconut oil increases lipid raft transcytosis, which is the geek term for fat molecules absorbed in the gut that escort LPS into your system. So for people that have an LPS sensitivity, as an example, and how do you know? Well, if you've done the test for intestinal permeability, it'll tell you if you've got elevated antibodies to LPS. And if you do, there's a number of things that you have to do. One is not encourage more entry of LPS into your bloodstream. And that's what the whole LPS study has been about. We're wrapping that up now. And the results will be tabulated. It'll take a couple of months, but we'll have the results and they're already jaw-dropping. I've seen them and it's very cool. So in terms of, I think coconut oil is an excellent oil unless you have an LPS sensitivity. And the only way to know is to do the wheat zoomer because it includes the markers for intestinal permeability. It's the most comprehensive test for intestinal permeability that I know of. Or do Cyrex array number 2, which is that laboratory's intestinal permeability test. If you're in the US, we recommend the wheat zoomer. If you're outside the US, it's much easier to do the Cyrex tests in Europe. And I think in Brazil now, I think so. I'm going to adjust my screen here because I remember that, you know, I'm supposed to have a straight on view here. Let's see if that works. And yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. In general, Norm, coconut oil is still a great oil for many other reasons. But if you have the sensitivity to LPS, you really can't use coconut oil straight like that. And one of the recommendations I make for coconut oil is to use it for, it's called oil pulling, where you take a tablespoon, put it in your mouth, maybe in the shower, swish it around, and then spit it out. Some people say don't spit it down the shower drain because you're going to plug up the sewage system. And say, well, I don't know. I don't quite know how that would occur, but and they say just spit it into a Kleenex or something and throw it away. So oil pulling, Dr. Mercola does oil pulling. He has some pretty excellent videos, instruction on that, mercola.com, and he says he does it for 30 minutes. And all right, that's great, and I think there's probably great benefit in that, but I'm not going to do it 30 minutes. I just know I won't get around to it. It's not that important to me. So I'll do it for a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And I think it's an excellent protocol to follow, but just caution is advised if you're LPS sensitive. There's no way to know unless you do the test. So sorry about that. My E3 advanced class arrived today. Is it necessary to keep it refrigerated? No, it is not. I've heard you say to keep it in your glove box and travel bag. Correct. If it goes above 120 degrees, some of the probiotics in there will start to die off. Product doesn't go bad. All the digestive functions are there. The prebiotic is still there, but some of the probiotics will die off over 120 degrees. So that's why it's shipped in the summertime in a refrigerated container, and why you don't want to leave it in your glove box in the summer. I need to be more specific when I talk about that. So let me do a couple of shout outs here. It's really nice. Alice Stoddard, first one in. Hi, Alice in Virginia. Jillian in Cleveland. Steph's in Missouri. Brooks in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Hi, Brooke. Colleen's in Naples. Quincy says, hello from Iowa. I love all that I'm learning from you. Thank you. You're making this mama smarter, and that'll make our 4 kids and my husband healthier. Thanks, Quincy. That's why I do this. That is the only reason why I do this. And so thank you so much. That feels really nice to hear. You know, when you guys tell us what this is like for you, it reinforces us to do this. I mean, you know, my team that set this up just now, we just had a moment of crisis because the link I had wasn't the right link. And it was 2 minutes before the event, you know, so, you know, there's energy put out for this. So thank you so much for your feedback. It makes our day to see those kinds of things. J. Esther Villarreal's in California, Wanda's Long Island, Dorada's New York City. Hi, Dorada. Darlene, Salt Lake City. Quincy says, I've had a host of problems the past 2 months. Daily, just a minute. Daily nausea, digestive issues like IBS, heart rate spikes and drops, palpitations, tight chest, awful anxiety, panic attacks for the first time in my life, etc. I've seen 3 doctors. We thought toxic burden and allergy to dental anesthesia and environmental toxins, rational line of thinking. Last week, my chiropractor adjusted me, including my jaw, and many of the symptoms, including the anxiety, disappeared. Fabulous. You know, I talk about in You Can Fix Your Brain, I talk about the pyramid of health, right? And if you haven't read the book, read the book. I mean, you know, spend the $15 with Amazon, whatever it is, because you just learn so much about how to think about health. And this is a really good example that you have to think about health as a pyramid. You know, there are 4 sides to a pyramid. No, there's 3. No, there's 4. There's a base, and then the 3 sides going up. And that's how you have to think about any health problem. The base is your structure. That's the home of chiropractic and massage and pillows, orthopedic pillows, and exercise and posture and your car seat. Is your car seat tilting back so you're driving like this? If you are, look at the posture of your neck when you do that, right? So if your car seat's tilted way back, don't try and straighten it out because you'll injure your spine. You be very uncomfortable, but bring it 1 click forward. Next week, bring it 1 click forward. Next week, bring it 1 click forward. And you're slowly getting your spine to adjust to this, right? But posture is a component of the pyramid of health, the base, the structural component. So once again, with all the symptoms, she said, my chiropractor adjusted me, including my jaw, and many of the symptoms, including the anxiety, disappeared. Who would have thought? But sometimes that's what it takes. I walked out of the office with the most confidence I've had in months. He called it TMJ. Yeah. How is that possible? The TMJ, that's temporomandibular joint. I've done, I don't know, maybe a few hundred of those in my career where that was the problem causing anything. Because when your jaw's out of balance, it throws abnormal feedback back into your brain. And your brain goes tilt, tilt, tilt. And it tries to adjust to the abnormal feedback coming in. And the tilting throws something else out of balance somewhere in your body. And maybe you get heart arrhythmias. Just Google TMJ and heart or cardiac function, and you'll see the references. And as hard as it is to believe, you know, the foot bone's connected to the ankle bone, connected to the leg bone, connected to the knee bone, connected to the thigh bone. And if you got a problem in your foot bone, You may only have hip pain from that. It's the same concept. So let's do the foot bone thing a little bit more. So let's say you got a flat foot. It's called pronation. You don't have the arch that you're supposed to have in your foot, and it's gone flat. That means that that foot on, I'll use the left side as the example here, my left side, it's gone flat, which means the ankle rolls in a little bit. Now, when the ankle rolls in, the knee has to roll out a little bit. I'm exaggerating the amount. You can't see it unless you have a sharp eye, but the ankle has to roll out to compensate for the foot rolling in. And then all your muscles and walking have to compensate for that. And when the ankle rolls in and the knee rolls out, the hip rolls in. And then all of a sudden you got a hip bone that's going into your pelvis and it's rotated. And now you're walking 500 steps a day or 5,000 steps a day, whatever it is. And now you get inflammation and you got hip pain. And everybody's giving you medications for your hip, or the chiropractor's adjusting your hip, or something else. But it's a flat foot. You put orthotics in your shoes and your hip pain goes away. I mean, that's the beauty of the body and the confusion of the body. But in this example, on the pyramid of health, it's her structure. Could that have really fixed my issues? Yes. What should I do now to keep my spine and jaw healthy? I'm so grateful and blown away by chiropractic care. Really great testimonial. Thank you for that. I've had many of those in my career, because some of you may not know I'm a chiropractor. I practiced in a suburb of Chicago for 25 years. And that is not uncommon to see that. And how do you keep it in place? Well, it got knocked out because of some kind of compensation. Maybe you don't have the right pillow that you're sleeping on. We all need an orthopedic pillow. The ideal position is to sleep on your back with a pillow under your knees, so your knees are bent a little bit, and an orthopedic pillow under your neck. Because from a side view, your neck's supposed to have a C-shaped curve. And when it doesn't have a curve and you have a straight neck, or it's going the other way, your head's in front of your shoulders like this, right? So you want that C-shaped orthopedic pillow lifts up your neck and your head kind of falls back over it a little bit. And if you don't have an orthopedic pillow, take a towel and roll it up with some rubber bands. And you set yourself up with a pillow under your knees and the orthopedic pillow under your neck, and go to sleep. And if you're not asleep in 10 minutes, throw the pillow on the floor, go back to the old way of sleeping, whatever it is, and get some sleep. But every night you give it 10 minutes. Base hits win the ball game. And eventually you'll fall asleep like that. And eventually you'll feel great sleeping in that position. So I'm really glad for you. Who was this person's name? Quincy. Really glad, Quincy, that you shared this experience. And I hope you understand now a little more of the mechanisms behind that your daily nausea, the digestive issues like IBS, the heart rate spikes, meaning the pulse just bum, 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 and drops, and the palpitations, the tight chest, the awful anxiety, the panic attacks, all that went away by a chiropractor adjusting the joint of the jaw, the temporomandibular joint. Yeah, sometimes that's what it is. So way to go. Way to go, Quincy, and thank you so much for sharing that. Shelly's here from Celebration, Florida. Well, that's a great name. All right. Cindy Foley says, hello, Dr. Tom. Quincy's in the house. Janet Campbell's in Cape Cod. Cheryl O'Brien. Is it okay to take ashwagandha if you are hypothyroid and Hashimoto's? In general, yes. In general, ashwagandha is an adaptogenic herb, and with autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's, you don't want to rev up your body, but ashwagandha is not going to be a stimulant, but it's a tonifier. And I think the most powerful supplements we can take in the long term are adaptogens. They're the primary thing I make sure I've got with me when I travel everywhere I go. I've talked about Sunhorse Energy in the past. We'll put the link up here for Sunhorse Energy. So you can go over and take a look at their stable. I've been taking Sunhorse since the company started. I'm the chief science officer for the company, and since 2012. And I don't want to be without them, because the thing about adaptogens, they never do harm. That's one of the rules. To qualify as an adaptogen, they're not tissue specific. So it's not just an adaptogen for your brain. Now, there are some adaptogens that seem to benefit the brain, and so they get categorized over there, but they're not specific to the brain. Adaptogens for cardiovascular system. You'll see on the site, well, this is a story worth telling because the questions here about adaptogens. So 2012, I just moved not too long before that to Southern California. And I used to go to this coffee shop, surfer coffee shop, kind of a funky coffee shop, just to listen to the guys. And this one guy was talking a lot about nutrition, and he knew more than most. He had a couple things wrong, but in the general, he was a pretty sharp guy. Talked about his product that was helping the surfers with their energy. So I asked him about it, and he said, "Are you a doctor?" And I said, "Yes." And so he said, "Tell me about your product." And I said, "Well, he's all right. I'll try it. I'd like to buy a bottle." And he gave me a bottle. It was a half gallon at the time. Very different delivery system now. And I really know my body exercising. When I ride a bicycle, I wear a pulse monitor, and I'm determining what gear to use to stay in the cadence, meaning the revolutions per minute of my pedals between 90 and 105. And I've got a little monitor on the handlebars that says how fast I'm going with the pedals. So I want to stay in that cadence for aerobic exercise. And when my pulse starts getting too fast, I go to an easier gear. So I'm still keeping my cadence, but always staying at my cadence, but adjusting the gears so my pulse stays between 90 and 105. That's aerobic exercise, right? And so I had this ride that I would do from my house to the Hilton Inn in Torrey Pines and back. It would take me an hour, 6 minutes, give or take a little because of the wind, because I've really got this down. You know, I did marathons for years, and after that triathlon, so I really had a lot of training on my bicycle. And I tried his product, and I got home. Everything was the same, my cadence and my pulse, but it was 1 hour and 1 minute. And I said, wait a minute, that can't be right. So I tried it again 2 days later, and it was the same thing. Then I got a call from my sister that it was time to go home to Detroit and disconnect our mother from life support. Hospice said she wouldn't wake up from the coma that she had been in for 8 days. And so I packed a bag, suit, a couple of shirts for the funeral and all that. And I brought my Sun Horse with me. The product's called Ultimate Energy. And I brought it with me because I was going to be there for a number of days. You know, if I get a chance to exercise, it would help a little bit going through the stress of the time. And I got home at 2 a.m. because the flights were late getting to Detroit. Everybody's asleep, but our mother was in one of the bedrooms with a hospital bed and the monitors hooked up. And I went in, and there's my mother in a semi fetal position, her eyes half open. And there was nothing, there was no recognition at all, but I gave her a kiss and said, "I'm here, Mom, I'm here." And I took my Sun Horse and I said, why not? Why not? So I tilted her head and I put some Sun Horse in her mouth. It's a liquid. And I set my alarm for 2 hours, woke up and went down and gave her some more because, she might die during the night. And then I woke up about 6 a.m. My sister and I had to go to a meeting, so I gave her some more. Hospice comes at 8 o'clock every morning to sit with our mother, bathe her, and play Frank Sinatra music because my mother loves Frank Sinatra. So we come home about 11 o'clock or so, There's our mother in a wheelchair. Hi, Tom. And my sister just looked and started crying. And I, like any good doctor, give her 2 ounces 3 times a day, right? I didn't know. But my mother, I left my Sun Horse there. Our mother lived another 6 weeks and in a wheelchair and completely worn out by sepsis, but wheeled to the table for every meal, interacting with the family. We got 6 weeks with my mom. So I went back to Encinitas, California, and found this guy who made this Sun Horse. And he said, "Hey, Doc." And I said, "Dan, I'm in." In for what? And I told him what happened, and his jaw dropped. My mother, who'd been in a coma for 8 days, came out of a coma within 6 hours, 8 hours. My jaw dropped. But I knew what happened. I didn't quite understand all the physiology, but I knew what happened. The adaptogens had turned on the genes of anti-inflammation in the brain and turned off some of the genes for inflammation. My mother woke up. And we have seen literally hundreds of jaw-dropping results over the years now with Sun Horse. That I'm going to do a whole thing about adaptogens in 2021, and I'll talk about it in much more detail. But Cheryl, to your question about is it okay to take ashwagandha? Yes, ashwagandha is one of the ingredients in Sun Horse in our products, and we recommend the specific products. There's one called Ultimate Energy. It's one that woke my mom up. It also, a medical doctor who was the first recorded case of tsunami-induced dengue fever in Sri Lanka. Because Sri Lanka didn't have dengue fever, but they had a tsunami, 15, 18 years ago. And this doctor went over there with Doctors Without Borders to help. And she contracted dengue fever. She didn't take any vaccinations because they didn't have dengue fever there. Now they do, but they didn't then. And nothing anyone could do could help her. And she got sicker and sicker. She went to some famous infectious disease center in France, went to a couple of infectious disease experts in the US. The medications didn't work. She couldn't work anymore. And one of her friends gave her Ultimate Energy. And within 2 months, she was back to work. And she wrote a testimonial for us about it. And we've seen so many cases like that. So Ultimate Energy is for anyone, including children over 12. Mojo 8.5 is Ultimate Energy plus a couple of extra herbs for men. Get your mojo up. And Thrivagen is Ultimate Energy plus a couple herbs for women. I did a study, informal study, with 15 women, it was 15 or 20, perimenopausal women. And we gave them Thrivagen for a couple of months. Every single woman reported an increase in her energy, an increase in the quality of her sleep, a decrease in her symptoms, her perimenopausal symptoms, and a happier husband. Every single one of them. So that's Thrivagen, right? So these products really work. Go to the website. We'll give you the link here and take a look and see what you think. My husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's at age 42, 14 years ago. It has significantly progressed in the past 2 years. Can you do a podcast or speak at a conference regarding the effects of food, diet, gut health, and the brain? I feel you could change our life, Donna. Oh, thank you, Donna. I've got some sections in my book. You can fix your brain on that, but yeah, there's more and more information coming out now about Parkinson's, you know. And Donna, the spouses of Parkinson's often have the same kind of triggers. They may not manifest as Parkinson's, but they've often had the same kind of constipation or bowel problems for 20 years, because Parkinson's starts in your gut. And the misfolding of the proteins called alpha-synuclein, the misfolding of those proteins occurs in the gut. And they go right through the walls of the intestine into the nerves of the intestines called the enteric nerves. And they creep neuron by neuron, you know, like itsy bitsy spider, neuron by neuron. The alpha-synuclein, the misfolded alpha-synuclein doesn't go up the neuron and then go out into the tissue. it goes by neuron up the vagus nerve to the brain. And it has a magnetic affinity for the area of the brain where Parkinson's occurs. And so that's a contributing factor. There are many factors, but that's one that's going on for decades. So looking at the work of re-engaging your vagus nerve. A couple of books out now about it. You can go to Amazon, type in vagus nerve. I don't remember the doctor's name. He's a specialist in neurology. He's a chiropractor like me, but a specialist in neurology, very smart guy. And I'm just not remembering his name, but his book's there about exercises for the vagus nerve. But you know, when you're diagnosed with Parkinson's, you have to rebuild the microbiome. It's really difficult when it progresses a lot. Nothing's impossible, but you've got these misfolded proteins that are in the vagus nerve, creeping neuron by neuron up to the brain. You have to stop that contamination because the inflammation in the brain and all brain dysfunction, if you read my book, they're all inflammatory conditions in the brain, whether it's depression or schizophrenia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson, they're inflammatory. So you can't eat inflammatory foods. Hello, I was looking at one of my friend, Dr. Datis Karazian, who is the most brilliant man I know on brain function. His books are excellent for that. And he just did something, or I saw one of his books today and I was looking at it and there was a quote in his book. I'm going to bring it up here because it was such a great quote. I made a slide out of it for my library to use at some point in the future. And it's opening up right now, and I'll show you this slide. Team, if I can share screen, can you give me the, oh, I've got it. Okay, I can share screen. So this is a slide that I made today from Dr. Karazian, from his book, Why Isn't My Brain Working? If you have a confirmed gluten sensitivity and feel going gluten-free is too difficult, it's time for you to put this book down and realize your brain has no chance and you will continue to get worse. And I said, all right, Datis, that is exactly correct. So you can't throw gasoline on the fire. If you have a sensitivity to a food, you can't eat that food and expect that you're going to get better. Hello? You know, earth to your brain, excuse me, but we come up against this all the time. So, I'm getting some stars. Thank you so much, and some laughters. I like those little emoji things. They keep me animated for you. So thank you for giving me the feedback on that. Okay, so sorry about the diagnosis you have and that it's progressing. Cut out the inflammatory triggers. Work with my team or with someone who really knows what they're doing on this stuff so that you can address as many inflammatory triggers as possible. You can't be using antibacterial soap in the bathroom because it's inflammatory. It destroys your microbiome, right? Use soap. I mean, in my book, I give you recipes for really simple soaps and disinfectants and dishwashing detergents and furniture cleaners that are not toxic to you. We're staying in a condominium right now because we want to be here in town for the birth that's going to happen pretty soon. And we have a couch here, that nice couch, but Marzi couldn't sit on it. She'd get all congested and sneezing. And I just called them and I said, hey, come get this couch, get it out of here. And so they came and got it out today and they brought another chair. We have nice big chairs, which 2 big chairs we're comfortable with. And when we turned to the couch on its side, and they carried it out, it's a brand new couch. You see, it's a brand new couch. And I said to Marzi, I said, honey, this is a brand new couch. And he said, yes, but so many of these things come from China now and they're stored, and shipped over here in these mold-filled containers. And so the couches have mold on them. You just have to investigate and protect. So let's move on here to the next question. What is the most reliable food sensitivity test? Without doubt, the Zoomers. Nothing is as accurate as the wheat Zoomer or the dairy Zoomer or the egg Zoomer or the corn Zoomer. We'll give you the links here, and they've got specials for different packages. You know, if you do 5 of them, you get 2 free or something. Don't hold me to that. I don't know what the offers are, but they've got offers so you can save some dollars and get more comprehensive numbers of tests done. But without question, they are the best. If there are many positives that indicate significant permeability, correct, yes. With symptoms of indigestion, bloating, gas, general discomfort after eating, what are the first and most important tests to start the investigation of cause? The food sensitivity test. You certainly, so there's 2 areas, and it could be debatable amongst doctors which one is most important. Do you identify where the gasoline on the fire is coming from, or do you identify how inflamed and out of balance the gut is right now? So the gasoline on the fire is the Zoomer test. The environment of the gut is stool analysis to see how bad is it right now. So one or both. I always recommend both. Doc, I can only afford one. Okay, then in my opinion, stop throwing gasoline on the fire comes first. That's why some people, when they go gluten-free and dairy-free, they feel better within a few days. Just immediately there's a reduction in their symptomatology. I want to order GS Immuno Restore, but notice that all of the products contain milk. I'm dairy-free because I have an allergy to casein. Do you recommend anything in place of your GS Immuno Restore product? Yes. First, the casein in there is 0.6%, almost nothing. And the immune protective and immune enhancing benefits of colostrum is second to none in the world. And this is, as far as I know, the very best colostrum in the world. 3 countries in Africa licensed this colostrum, GS Immuno Restore. They use a different name, but it's the same product, same manufacturer. They license it as the treatment of choice for HIV. So when you're diagnosed with the HIV, government says, give them this to start with. So my recommendation is always, Mrs. Patient, let's try the GS Immuno Restore. Let's just try it. And if you feel lousy, you get some bloating or gas or any symptoms at all, just stop. It was worth the try. But if you don't, it's worth taking for a couple of months because nothing turns on so many genes in your gut to build a stronger anti-inflammatory, diverse microbiome. Nothing works as well as colostrum. That's Mother Nature's way of clearing up the intestinal permeability of a newborn and creating the environment for the good bacteria, the docking stations for good bacteria, which sets the stage. You know, you've all heard us talking about the microbiome and how important it is. And it's pretty much determined for the rest of your life by the time you're 2.5 to 3. But the first 3 months are critical to the direction that it's going in for the first 2 to 3 years of life. So the first 3 months are critical. Why? That's colostrum. The first 3 to 5 days of mother's milk is not milk, it's colostrum. And it sets the stage for what docking stations are going to be produced. Hold on a minute. There was a mosquito on the wall. I don't want any mosquitoes here in our bedroom. Excuse me, but we don't need no stinking mosquitoes, right? So I suggest you try that. If that does not work for you, then what's the name of the product? My team will look it up. It's the IgG product from Microbiome Labs. I'm not remembering the name of it at the moment, but they'll post it here before the end of the show. So the IgG product, I think it's Mega IgG or something like that. It's a very good product, but it's not as comprehensive as colostrum is. It has good evidence, good studies that it enhances immune function, gets rid of some nasty gut infections, things like that. It's a really good product, but nothing plays the entire symphony like colostrum. So it's worth the effort to see, can I take this without any symptoms for a couple of months to turn on all those genes, then stop taking it, then go to the IgG. I try to buy only organic everything. However, most everything in the grocery store comes wrapped in plastic. Any ideas on how we can keep from ingesting this toxicity? Yes, yes. We're blessed now. We're in Costa Rica at the moment and feel blessed because there's a farmer's market every week and there's fresh produce all year round. So, we've never done this before, but, we go to farmer's market. I've got these portable bags and we use them every week. They're like little shopping bags. And I put like 5 or 6 of them in one, and then they're in the back of the car. So I just grab the one, we go in, and we've got, we put the lettuce and the tomatoes and stuff in one, and then the next one and all that. But most cities have cooperatives where farms in the area that grow organic produce, and there might be 10 families or 100 families, depending on the size of the farm. And you pay, I don't know what it is. When I did it in Encinitas, it was $250 a month. And every week, twice a week, actually, I got boxes of food, whatever they harvested. You open this box and there's a couple of rutabagas and there's a purple cabbage and there's some tomatoes. And there's 2 different kinds of lettuce, and you get what they harvest, and it's not in separate little packaged bags, all sterilized and wrapped. And you just have to wash it. It takes a moment to wash all that because of the dirt that's there, which is not bad, but you just don't want to eat a lot of dirt, right? But those cooperatives are in most cities now. So that's the first place to look, the very first. The second, if you're looking and just can't find it, the second, we'll put the link in here to mygreenfills.com. And my friend Stephen Azell has these products, and it's in a spray, or you can put a capful in some water, and you come home with your produce from the supermarket, take it out of the plastic and all that. You put the tomatoes there in the thing of water, or the lettuce in there, and it removes, Stephen said, and he had it tested, over 95%, maybe it was 98%, of the chemicals that are on the food. And that includes the plastics, the plasticizers. It just takes them right off. So we'll put the link here for you so that you can look into that. Good questions. Thank you so much for that. What is the best fasting diet with someone with underactive thyroid? None. Don't do it. I eat gluten-free. I also have bone broth for when I do fast. Okay. The concept of fasting is superb. There are many, many benefits to limiting your intake of food in a sensible way. One of my friends at the Institute for Functional Medicine developed throat cancer a couple of years ago, shocked all of us because one of the smartest guys, and went through traditional therapies and comprehensive therapies. And I sent him a message for the holidays. Hey man, congratulations. How are you? Happy holidays to you and your family. How's it going? He said, just had my 2-year checkup, no evidence of any problems whatsoever. And so I asked him, so are you doing 816 or something similar? And he said, absolutely, every day, along with other protocols. So the 816 is a basic type of time-restricted feeding. I don't like the word fasting because fasting denotes suffering or you're not getting something, right? Time-restricted feeding means you eat all your meals within 8 hours of the day. So Marzi and I get up in the morning and we have our morning coffee, and we might not have breakfast until 10:30, 11, sometimes noon. And then we have dinner usually about 6:30 or 7. So we're trying to keep our food intake within the 8 hours. And if it's like 9 o'clock at night, not quite ready to go to bed yet, but I'm hungry, I'll drink 2 glasses of water and say, all right, in 5 minutes, if I'm hungry, I'll have a piece of fruit. And oftentimes I forget that I was hungry, so the idea of time-restricted fasting, not fasting, time-restricted eating is a very good one. It turns on more stem cell production. Stem cells make young cells, young thyroid cells. All, you have new cells every day. I mean, you have an entire new body every 7 years. Every cell in your body regenerates. Stem cells help you regenerate younger cells. So if you're 54 with hypothyroid, you may reproduce a 52-year-old thyroid cell if you're activating more stem cells. That's the concept. So yes, I recommend time-restricted eating. The first man that introduced me at all to health was Dr. Harold Swanson, a healer, beautiful man. And I carried my girlfriend in and with back pain, and she walked out. He was a chiropractor, graduated in 1927. So, different time. But he said to me that day, and he said, Tom, you come back and watch. Oh, okay, Dr. Swanson. And I had hair down to my waist. This was in Ann Arbor in the late 60s, early 70s. And I'd go back and, hey, Dr. Swanson, how are you? And he'd say, good, Tom, good. And then a patient would come and he'd say, this is Tom. He's going to watch. And they go, oh, hi, okay. And he would just explain to me of the theories about health and where health comes from. And then he says, Tom, every day, every week, we should have one day we give our body a rest from working on food. And on that day, I just have vegetable broth and fruit juice. So not too much fruit juice because it's really, really sweet. Nobody will eat 3 or 4 oranges at one time, but you drink an 8-ounce glass of orange juice, you're getting all the sugar of 3 or 4 ounces or 3 or 4 oranges. So mostly vegetable juice. But Dr. Swanson introduced me to the concept of, for him it was fasting, time-restricted eating. He introduced me to the whole concept without any science behind it. And of course, it's in the Bible and many other places. So yeah, there's a lot of value and benefit to time-restricted food selection. If you are taking supplements to help the liver detoxify, such as milk thistle and dandelion, should those be taken indefinitely? No. Does your body get used to them, and are they less effective over time? I don't know. There's certainly not an addiction that I'm aware of for those, but there certainly are. The wrong word is stimulant. They're not a stimulant, but they're an activator. And you don't want to keep activating something that should be doing the job on its own. Right? So, no. What diet would work best for Hashimoto's disease, suspected to have been caused by Epstein-Barr and a lot of allergic reactions to almost everything ingested? Thanks. Okay, Ann. An anti-inflammatory diet. Bottom line. Well, what does that mean? Don't eat anything that causes inflammation. Well, how do I know? Do the Zoomers. Now you know. Once you do those tests, you know what foods are causing a problem and which ones aren't. Don't eat the foods causing a problem. Or I'll read to you the slide from Dr. Karazian again. That was so good. I really like that. If you think giving up gluten's too hard, you might as well just close the book, put it down, and forget about your brain. It's not going to get better. I love that kind of reality. Okay, Shanquila says, can you use probiotics while detoxifying mold and glyphosate and parasites? Yes, no problem. Anne from Idaho appreciates your talks. Well, thank you, Anne. Shanquila, if you're sensitive to coconuts, can you still do the oil pulling? I don't know. Most likely not, because the oil will have some proteins in it and you will absorb a little of it. So if you have antibodies to coconut, absolutely not. Cheryl asks, if you have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, what is the best probiotic to take? The one that your body needs. Which means it's the diversity of the microbiome you need. No, but there was one that was shown to be very effective, and I'm sorry, I'm not remembering what type. I believe it's bifidobacterium, but it was a specific strain. You have to go to Google and type in SIBO and probiotics. and just look for the study. It'll pop right up for you. Janet says, I bought your GI detox after attending base hits. How does it know to absorb the bad stuff and not the good stuff? That's charcoal. It doesn't absorb. Well, you don't want to take it after you eat, and you don't want to take it after you take vitamins. So I take it at night. I take it every night right now. And I'll take 3 or 4 at night, but I've not eaten for a good 3 hours. So I don't know that the absorptive capacity of charcoal is selective. I don't know that it is. Just don't take it within a couple of hours of eating or taking supplements. Jim Bula says, hi, did open case study, have tested for lead and mercury. Should I test for blood-brain barrier prior to continued IV chelation therapy? It would be a smart move, Jim, because as you do the chelation therapy, you're mobilizing the stuff to get it out. And you need to know if you, the NeuroZoomer Plus would be the test that will tell you if you've got inflammation in your brain, which by definition means you've got a leaky brain. The antibodies can't get in there unless there's a leaky brain. Alma says, thanks. Brenda says, good evening from Kentucky. Good evening. Patty says, hello from Montana. Hi, Patty. Luann says, hello from Aurora, Colorado. Hey, Luann. Nancy's in Minnesota. Love your webinars. Thank you, Nancy. Colleen says, you rock. All right. Well, thank you. Cynthia says, sending good feeling vibes for you and Marzi on your journey. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Luann says, love you, Marzi, and all of your guests who taught me so much. Thank you. Thank you. Alma says, hello from Eugene, Oregon. Priscilla says, celiac here. Hi from Iowa. Learned so much about celiac, gluten intolerance, and wheat from you. Oh, thank you so much. You guys are, thank you. It's really nice. What is the link between mold exposure and gluten antibodies? Saw on Shoemaker's website, there is a link. Thanks. Yeah, it's there's a molecular mimicry link. The most commonly researched is the fungus from Candida, that the proteins of Candida, when your immune system fights that, the proteins of Candida can also attack your own tissue and will attack gluten. So once you have a gluten sensitivity, stop eating wheat. But if you have a Candida sensitivity, make antibodies to Candida, you likely will still make antibodies to wheat, even though you're completely wheat-free. And that's true with molds. If you have a molecular mimicry with the mold, you're making antibodies to mold, and you're gluten-free, you're likely to still make antibodies to gluten, and then all of the cross-reactivity with your brain or your thyroid or wherever it should be because of the mold. You know, we'd like it to be one simple answer. Wouldn't that be nice? Just take the blue pill and everything will be fine, right? Wouldn't that be great? It's not that way, however, unfortunately. Let's see. Terry says, how do I reconcile the discrepancies between the IgG food sensitivity test from Genova and another, not Zoomer, and the IgE food test done by Skin Test by traditional allergist MD who says that Genova and others are bullshit and not even approved in California? I know, it's so frustrating. I know, Terry, it's frustrating because the allergist skin prick tests are IgE. The Air Force. Your immune system is the armed forces in your body. Army, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Navy, IgA, IgG, IgE, IgM, IgD. Skin prick test is IgE. Very important to rule out IgE sensitivities. You see, the history of this is where that kind of cocky statement comes from a bozo, excuse me. But, you know, I'd love to go toe-to-toe with anybody on this kind of stuff. Back in the 1950s, there was a group of medical doctors that were more forward thinkers who discovered that if they took a needle and they put it in a tomato and then they poked your skin with the needle, if you got a red welt around that, you had a problem with tomatoes. And if they did it with banana and there was no red welt, you don't have a problem with bananas. And this group of forward-thinking medical doctors got such remarkable results with what they were doing sometimes compared to the traditional doctors that were prescribing drugs for the symptoms of food allergies, that they formed their little group. They had their little weekend seminars and they brought more people in and they grew. It's like, if you look at LDN, low dose naltrexone, it's the same thing. You know, they've got this little seminar, symposium once a year. But doctors come from all over the world now, and I'll be presenting this next year again for them. But it's the same thing, because the traditional doctors say, what nonsense, low dose naltrexone, LDN can't do anything. The traditional doctors back in the 50s and 60s said, what nonsense? What do you mean you're going to poke somebody's skin and you're going to be able to tell if a food's good for them or not? Well, this group of forward-thinking doctors became so confident in the results that they were producing, like chiropractors with TMJ, like the case study that we just saw a little earlier tonight, heart arrhythmias and anxiety all gone immediately after fixing her jaw joint, that this group of forward-thinking doctors decided, let's start our own group. And because we're doing these things that are looking for allergies, let's call ourselves allergists. And they formed their own group within medical circles. Now they're commonly accepted like cardiovascular cardiologists, gynecologists, allergists. They're just taken for granted as one of the boys in the big club. But they were given the same crap that functional medicine is given right now. You know, what kind of nonsense is that? And so we got this, I'll be nice. We have this doctor in California who claims that there's no such thing as a sensitivity to food when you do a skin prick test and it comes back negative. Very accurate, correct logic for 1960. He's looking at the Air Force, IgE. And if you were to say to him, and you can't because you don't know, this technical geek stuff, well, doctor, but isn't celiac disease, for example, a test of IgA antibodies? Well, yes, that's true. Well, why aren't we checking IgA? Well, your son doesn't have celiac disease. Well, how do you know? Well, because I pricked him for wheat and he doesn't have a reaction. But isn't that an IgE reaction? And is IgE used to diagnose celiac disease? Well, no, it's not. Well, then why aren't we doing an IgA reaction for wheat and dairy and eggs and corn and soy? And then that's when they get up and walk out of the room, because you put them in a corner that they can't get out of. Excuse me, I'm supposed to be nicer than that, but bottom line is just, it's not okay, Terry, when you get crap like that from them. And I'm sorry that you have to go through that, but you have to have the guts to say, hey, wait a minute, what O'Brien is saying just makes sense. And I'm seeing, I'm reading his books and I'm seeing all of these studies for everything he says. And if you go back to your allergist, well, doctor, did you read this study by Professor Fasano, the chair of pediatric gastroenterology at Harvard, talking about IgA and IgG? Well, no, I didn't. Well, then let me give you a copy of this study so you can expand your horizons. This is what we're up against in medicine. Oh, thank you for all the hearts. That makes me want to continue. You guys are just, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. So Terry, I'm sorry that you have to go through that, but you now have to have the guts to say, you know what? That allergist is probably really good for his little niche, but he can't handle the entire armed forces. If I have a problem with the Air Force, that may be the person to go to, but not to see if the armed forces are called out. If my immune system is highly active, meaning that it's causing inflammation in my body. because he's only looking at the Air Force. And, you know, it's those Marines, you know, or the special forces. I don't want to deal with those I have to find out best special forces are there, right? You got to think differently, Terry. You have to open up your horizons and have the guts. Just read my books, keep watching these kinds of events, read Dr. Karazian's books. I mean, you'll get it. You'll get it. Tricia says, my husband, oh, wait a minute. I just lost it. My husband says I taste like salt when he kisses me. Is that something to be concerned about? I don't know. I'm like, what? That's a new one. That is a new one. You taste like salt. So he must have a salt deficiency, or you have a sodium excess. I don't know. Sorry, can't answer that one. I'll think about it. Maybe next week we'll have an answer. Alice says, why would hair split and fall out? Protein, the quality of your hair. The quality of your hair. It's not, you know, it's like, how come a 2x4 splits? Well, it's a poor quality 2x4. So there's some type of nutrient imbalances, Alice. Io says, can digestive issues and or fat malabsorption cause referred neck discomfort? Absolutely, absolutely. Really common problem, fat malabsorption is your gallbladder. That's just an example. And you may not have any gallbladder symptoms, except you have some achiness or stiffness in between your shoulder blades, because that's the referral area for gallbladder dysfunction. And when you have that, the neck, the muscles of your in between your shoulder blades, they go right up into your neck. So you can have a lot of neck stiffness and tenderness, neck pain that can be caused by a gallbladder problem. I'm getting into my world of organic dysfunction from mechanical problems now. Let's see. Okay, that's my team says, hi, this is the comment where we'll be posting things mentioned in the Facebook Live. Great, thank you, team. Candy says, I told my doctor the other day I wanted to find a doctor that is functional doctor like Dr. Tom. He basically blew up. I'm sure he did. Oh, let's see what else he said. I was shocked. I thought he was into herbs. Well, you don't want to emasculate someone, right? Perhaps what you say is, I think I need more members on my team, on my healthcare team. I mean, you've done really great, Doc. I remember when my daughter, or whatever it should be, but I'd like to expand our team. Do you know of any doctors who have studied this world of functional medicine? So if you're including them, they're more likely not to give you a hard time. They may say it's a waste or something, but they're more likely not to give you a hard time. But oh, well, but thanks so much, Candy. Alice says hair breaking off. Hair breaking off. Yeah. Dietary and nutrient imbalances, malabsorption, long-term malabsorption, Alice, is the most common trigger for that. Could also be toxic chemical sensitivity that's accumulated in your body. Also could be, let's see, how much time do we have? Well, we've got, no, we don't have time. I do a case study that I show the slides for of a guy that had alopecia. His hair just started falling out, 44 or 46-year-old guy. And he went to doctors and they put him on steroid creams and they gave him an antidepressant because they thought maybe, well, I'd be depressed if my hair was falling out. That's pretty normal. But nothing worked. And he had some digestive upset. So he went to another doctor and the other doctor said, you have digestive upset? Well, okay, let's stop all that dermatology stuff, the steroids. That's not going to help. And they tested him and he had a Helicobacter infection, a bacteria in the stomach that causes ulcers, Helicobacter pylori, H. pylori. They gave him the antibiotics to kill the H. pylori. And then they showed the, all right, I'm going to show you the slides. I have to find the slides, but I'll show them to you because they really make a difference. when you see the slides. Let's see, can I pull that? How am I going? There we go. Let's go to presentations and let's go to case studies. I mean, it's jaw dropping. So this is all about your hair, because your hair can be toxic chemicals and you have to do Cyrex. I think it's array number 11 or 12. Well, actually, use both of them. One is for chemicals that your body's fighting, and the other is for parasites your body is fighting. If you have to do Cyrex arrays 11 and 12 to find out what do I have accumulated chemicals in my body that are causing this problem. So now hang on a minute. Now I have to scroll through a few hundred slides here to find it, but it'll pop up quickly when I'll recognize it when it pops up here. No, not that one. Let's see. Okay, let's keep rolling down the river. There we go. There it is. So let's share screen again so that you can see this. And let's put it on big screen. By the way, folks, I'm going to be doing this. We're going to take a few people and do private sessions with me. And my team will post a link to it here, because this is what I'm going to do with people, focused on a small group that we're going to be talking, and then one person I'll be dealing with, and then the next week it'll be one person. So this is going to go for a little while, where I'm doing this kind of thing to educate a small group that really wants to understand what the heck's going on with my health. So there's a 43-year-old guy, hair loss in the scalp, and you see the title of the article in the World Journal of Gastroenterology, Cure of Alopecia Areata after getting rid of Heliobacter. So here is his loss of hair. And I put these arrow here because doctors don't think that this is alopecia. You know, there's no stubble on the chin. It's the same thing as losing your hair on your scalp. And here's, they gave him the drugs didn't work. They found that Heliobacter infection. He was told to stop the treatments. Here's what happened after week 4 of getting rid of the Heliobacter infection. Here's what happened at week 8. Here's what happened at week 16. Here's what happened at week 44. And here's the thing from the medical journal article that I just took each one for the time period. So when you have an autoimmune condition, where is it coming from? Who knows? It could be bacterial, it could be chemical, it could be dietary, it could be in the air, environmental. You have to do the research to figure out where the heck is it coming from. And so that's what we're going to dial down for a small group of people. And I don't know how many weeks it's going. I'm supposed to know. I don't know. They'll just tell me what to do, right? But it's going to be this kind of laser specific answering your questions with examples of where you have to go and what you have to think about or what tests you might have to do for your conditions. Oh, here's Gwendolyn Jones from sunny New Zealand. I like it that you're here from New Zealand. Thank you, Gwendolyn. I watched your Facebook Live with Gabrielle Line a while ago. Oh yeah, isn't she great? A while ago, and increased my protein as per her recommendation, supplementing with branched chain amino acids as necessary. My functional medicine doc does not agree with eating so much animal protein due to the effect it has on the gut bacteria. So much conflicting info. What do you recommend? When you're going to change how you live your life, if you've lived 40 years with a particular way of eating, what do you think happens if in the course of 2 weeks to a month you change everything, right? Or if you want to be a vegetarian after 40 years of eating meat, what do you think happens if you give up meat? It's not, you want to transition. It's like base hits win the ball game. So with Dr. Lyon's recommendations, they're good, but eating so much meat, if you haven't eaten meat like that, I wouldn't do it. I would maybe increase my meat intake by 30%, of what my average has been. And taking the branched chain amino acids are great. I really like the protein powder, the collagen protein powder from Brain Bean. I take that every day. So I don't want to take animal protein powders. So I take Brain Bean, and the collagen is just tremendous. We'll put a link in here if we have one. I'm not sure we're set up yet for that, but that's the best. But Gwendolyn in New Zealand, just slow down. You're moving too fast. You got to make the morning last. Just okay. Do it slowly. No problems. I can't see any complications with branched chain amino acids. I can't see any complications with collagen type proteins. But eating more red meats, if they're not organic and range fed, absolutely not. Grass fed, absolutely not, unless they're grass fed organic, because you're exposing yourself to more toxins. Unfortunately, the world of meat supply but you're New Zealand, so that's much better. They can't use antibiotics in New Zealand unless there's a veterinarian's prescription, so that's great. But just slow down in the amount of animal protein you consume, and you can be targeting, within the next 6 months to a year, I want to ramp up to where Dr. Lyon is suggesting, but I'll transition so it's not a shock to my body. And that's the way it needs to be with anything you're dealing with, unless it's a bacterial infection. Then you get in there and kill it, get it out of there, right? And then deal with the after effects, right? But for most everything else, you want to just give your body a chance to adapt and thrive. Okay, on that note, we'll end for the night. Thank you all so very much for being here. You guys are the best. I mean, the hearts that you give me just make me want to do more. And please take a minute and just like this and, share the link. Please share the link with someone that you care about. I mean, if you like it, then share it with somebody you think would like it. Because when you share the link, Facebook says, oh, look at that. theDr.com is getting more shares on this thing they do on Tuesdays. And then they'll expose us to more people. And you can see, I'm not selling anything here. So it's just you're helping us. So thank you all very much. Happy holidays to you. We've got a new year starting here in a couple of days. Hopefully we'll have a new announcement then, but I wish you the very healthiest and happiest of 2021. See you next week. Wait. Marzi says, wait.
The inner circle.
The inner circle.
Yeah. Mention if someone is interested, just ask them to send us the emails in Messenger.
Okay. The thing I was talking about was the inner circle. And if any of you are interested, send us an email in Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and then the team will get back to you. I guess we don't have the marketing stuff ready for that yet. So it's called the inner circle. Come join my inner circle, and we'll do this every week like this. I'll still do Facebook Lives with our guests and everything else. All right, folks, thank you so much.